For most of our time on this planet, Homo sapiens weren't flying solo. Believe it or not, Earth used to be like a roommate sitcom with several human species coexisting, each doing their own thing, shaped by different environments, challenges, and quirks. Some of these ancient humans looked a lot like us, others not so much. Some were close relatives, some were the competition, and a few got close enough to us to leave behind a little genetic legacy. Yeah, you might actually carry some of their DNA right now, and others, they just vanished, like a mystery with no ending. This is the story of those ancient meetups, moments when modern humans came face to face with other human species. Think of it as a prehistoric family reunion, full of twists, awkward encounters, and relatives we never knew we had. And here's the kicker, we're only just beginning to unravel how many of them were out there. So let's rewind the clock and head back to where it all began. Africa, our evolutionary home base. All the hard evidence, fossils, tools, genetic data, points here as the launchpad of Homo sapiens. By around 300,000 years ago, our ancestors had spread across large parts of the continent, and in what's now South Africa, we had some very interesting neighbors. Meet Homo naledi. They're not exactly household names, but they're one of the most recent non-sapiens humans to roam the earth, and they were weird in all the best ways. Discovered deep inside the Rising Star cave system, Homo naledi looked like they walked straight out of a sci-fi movie. These folks were short, about 4 feet 9 inches and 88 pounds, with brains the size of an orange. But hold on, it gets better. They had long curved fingers made for climbing, shoulders built like a gymnast, but also legs that walked just like ours. Basically, they were part monkey bar athlete, part upright walker. Scientists think they split off from our evolutionary line over 2 million years ago. But don't call them primitive, because get this, there's evidence they might have buried their dead deep in caves on purpose. That's right, possible rituals. Mind blown, right? Now, here's the wild part. Homo naledi was still around about 250,000 years ago, the exact time Homo sapiens were starting to rise up. So yeah, we definitely crossed paths. Not just once, probably for thousands of years. So that brings up some big questions. What did we think when we saw them? Did we see them as strange creatures, ghosts, friends, folks? Did they fear us, or did we fear them? One thing's for sure, our ancient world was way more crowded and way more interesting than we ever imagined. What if we actually sat around a campfire with Homo naledi, shared stories, maybe even a meal? Truth is, we have no idea. The only proof they ever existed comes from that single, pitch-black cave system in South Africa. But here's what we do know. They were there, like shadow people, lingering just outside the spotlight of our own story. Their extinction didn't come with a bang. It was quiet, almost ghostly, but their mystery, it still echoes loud and clear. And they leave us with one heck of a question. Does being smart really require a big brain? Or is intelligence something else entirely? Something more about awareness than raw size? Now let's head west, to West Africa, where things get even stranger. Not all of our ancient relatives left behind bones or tools. Some only left fingerprints in our DNA. Geneticists have found traces of mysterious ghost hominins, long-lost human relatives that show up in the genomes of modern West African populations. No fossils, no faces, just genes, and yet they were real. These ancient humans seem to have branched off from our family tree over 700,000 years ago. For comparison, we split from Neanderthals only about 500,000 years ago, and most of us still carry a piece of their DNA too. Interestingly, some groups in West Africa carry a lot of this ghost DNA, while others have barely any, which tells us something important. This wasn't a one-time hookup. It was more like a long, complex relationship, living together, having children, blending cultures, and then fading into legend. Whoever these mysterious hominins were, they're still with us, living on in the genetic code of millions today. And hopefully, someday soon, we'll find a fossil to match the genes. Now, let's cross out of Africa and into new territory, Neanderthal country. Neanderthals weren't brutish, cavemen or ape-like monsters like old cartoons would have you believe. They were our cousins, stronger, shorter, built for tough climates, but smart too. They used tools, wore clothes, cared for their injured, and even made art. Yeah, our ancestors first bumped into Neanderthals over 200,000 years ago, likely in the Middle East. That first wave of Homo sapiens didn't last. They vanished. But about 70,000 years ago, a second wave left Africa, and they made it work. And not just work, they got close, really close. Archaeological sites show overlapping lifestyles, similar tools, shared hunting strategies, and evidence of cultural exchange. And yes, DNA confirms what you're thinking. There was interbreeding. That ancient hookup left a mark that still shows up in nearly every non-African population alive today. But hey, just because we met the Neanderthals doesn't mean we always got along and sang Kumbaya together. At Chanadar Cave in Iraq, archaeologists uncovered a Neanderthal skeleton with a wound in his ribcage, the kind of wound that looks suspiciously like it came from a spear, or maybe even a spear thrower, a tool more advanced than what Neanderthals usually carried. That suggests one unsettling possibility. He was attacked by a Homo sapiens. So yeah, not all meetups were friendly, but others way more cooperative. Around 50,000 years ago, we were definitely doing more than just sharing hunting grounds with Neanderthals. We were having kids, and those kids carried a blend of genes. That's still with us today. That's right, if you're of non-African descent, you've got Neanderthal DNA, and even some African populations carry a tiny bit less than 1%, likely due to ancient back migrations. But get this, Europeans don't have the most Neanderthal DNA. That honor actually goes to East Asians who carry the highest percentages. Neanderthal genes didn't just hitch a ride, they stuck around for a reason. Some influence our skin tone, our immune systems, and even aspects of brain development. So yeah, they're still part of what makes us. As Homo sapiens expanded through Europe and Asia, Neanderthals slowly disappeared, whether it was due to competition, climate shifts, or literally merging with us by about 40,000 years ago. They were gone. Well, mostly gone. Their DNA is still alive in billions of people today. So, not a total vanishing act. And just when you thought the family reunion couldn't get any weirder, entered these mysterious humans didn't show up in fossils first. No, they were discovered through their DNA. In 2010, scientists sequenced the genome from a finger bone found in Denisova Cave, Siberia. The result? It didn't match Neanderthals. It didn't match us. It was a whole new kind of human. Then it got even juicier. A second fossil turned out to belong to a hybrid child, born from a Neanderthal mother and a Denisovan father. Here it was that kind of party. And Homo sapiens, we showed up and joined in, to modern humans in Southeast Asia and Oceania today, carry up to 5% Denisovan DNA. That's not just genetic noise, it's survival gold. Some of those Denisovan genes help Tibetan populations thrive at high altitudes, where oxygen is scarce. Others play a role in immune defense and how our bodies handle fat storage. Useful stuff. It looks like Denisovans were spread out across a massive range, from the Himalayas down to island Southeast Asia, and they weren't all the same. They probably had their own regional flavors, adapted to different environments, climates, and ways of life. We didn't just cross paths with the Denisovans, we might have actually learned from them. Even though they left a huge genetic footprint, especially in East Asian populations, we still don't have a complete skull. Not one, just puzzle pieces scattered across the map. What we do have are fragments. Some bits of bone from Denisova Cave in Siberia, a jawbone from a cave in China, and get this, a second jawbone pulled from the ocean floor off Taiwan 15 miles out and way underwater. It's wild. There's so much more to uncover about these ancient mystery humans, and one day, hopefully, we'll be able to actually put a face to the name. But let's roll the clock back even further. Long before Neanderthals and Denisovans stamped their DNA into our story, there was Homo erectus, the original globetrotter, showing up almost 2 million years ago. These folks were the first humans to leave Africa. They marched across continents, setting up shop in Asia, Indonesia, and parts of China. And they weren't just passing through, they stuck around for over 1 million years. Homo erectus lived through some epic times. They shared the land with beasts like Gigantopithecus, a real-life King Kong, and the biggest elephants that ever walked the earth. And here's the twist. We used to think they died out long before we showed up, but new discoveries from Java, Indonesia, suggest other ones. Some evidence points to Homo erectus surviving as recently as 117,000 to 108,000 years ago. That's after modern humans had already arrived in Southeast Asia, possibly around 70,000 years ago. So, the big question is, did we meet them? Imagine that encounter. On one side, Homo erectus, experts in stone tools and fire-seasoned survivors. On the other side, Homo sapiens carrying art, language, music, maybe even spirituality. Two branches of the human family tree separated by over 1 million years, meeting face to face. What would that have looked like? What could they have shared? Now, to be clear, we haven't found solid proof yet of interbreeding between Homo erectus and us. But hey, no evidence doesn't mean it didn't happen. Sometimes, history hides its best secrets. Did we fear them? Ignore them? Cause their extinction? We don't know, but the possibility lingers. Their story adds a fascinating chapter to our understanding of human evolution. Genetic research keeps peeling back layers of our past, and it's starting to look like the story's even more complicated than we thought. Scientists have found traces of unknown ancient DNA hiding in modern human genomes. It's not Neanderthal, it's not Denisovan. So, who is it? Could Homo erectus be part of this genetic mystery guest list? Maybe, we can't say for sure, but the possibility is on the table. What we do know is this: not long after modern humans showed up in Southeast Asia, Homo erectus disappeared. Maybe we outcompeted them. Maybe the environment changed. Maybe it was contact. The truth, still out there. Their extinction closed one of the longest-running chapters in human history. But let's be real, Homo erectus deserves a standing ovation. They're legends, right up there with Neanderthals. I mean, who doesn't love Homo erectus? But buckle up, because the story of human evolution in East Asia only gets weirder and smaller. Welcome to the island of Flores, where evolution went full-on fantasy novel. Meet Homo floresiensis, a tiny human species that lived there for thousands of years, nicknamed the Hobbit. These adults stood just over 3 feet tall, but don't let the size fool you. They made stone tools, hunted wild game, and may have even mastered fire. They were smart, they were scrappy, and they were totally unexpected. Their small size, that's classic island evolution at work. When big animals get stuck on islands with limited food, they tend to shrink over generations. It's called insular dwarfism, and it's not just for humans. Smaller animals can get bigger when predators disappear. So, what you end up with on Flores is straight out of a myth. Little humans hunting giant rats. Seriously. Some were rabbit-sized, and dwarf elephants called In one cave, we've even found stegodon bones with cut marks. Solid evidence that these pint-sized humans were butchering their prey. It's wild. A real-life island of tiny humans, tiny elephants, and supersized rodents. But wait, it gets weirder. They also shared this island with Komodo dragons and giant storks. Yeah, giant storks. It was a survival gauntlet, and Homo floresiensis held their own for a long time. They thrived in this strange ecosystem until about 50,000 years ago. Well, after Homo sapiens had already reached the surrounding regions. There's no smoking gun that says we encountered them. But given how the timelines overlap, it's hard to believe we didn't. Homo sapiens almost certainly landed on Flores and came face to face with these small-bodied humans. So what happened? Did we fear them? Compete with them? Coexist? Wipe them out? We just don't know. But the possibility that we played a role in their extinction is hard to ignore. And their story, these little hunters in a land of dragons and pygmy elephants, adds one of the most fascinating and bizarre chapters to the human saga. What's really eerie is how recently they vanished. On the island of Flores, local folklorist Dill tells tales of tiny forest dwellers called, and some researchers can't help but wonder, could those stories be distant echoes of real encounters? Maybe Homo floresiensis didn't disappear from memory as quickly as we thought. If we did meet them, what did we see? Fellow humans, or something strange and otherworldly? Something mythical? And maybe those impressions were passed down through generations, becoming legend woven into the modern-day stories still told in Flores today. But guess what? Flores wasn't the only island with tiny humans. On Luzon, the largest island in the Philippines, scientists found bones and teeth from a newly identified species, Homo luzonensis. We've only got fragments, remains from 3 individuals, but even that was enough to tell. These people were different. They had curved fingers and toes built for climbing and stood just 3 to 4 feet tall. They weren't primitive. These small-body humans hunted deer and likely butchered animals using tools. Most likely they were distant descendants of Homo erectus, evolving in isolation for hundreds of thousands of years. Their discovery blows the doors wide open on what we thought we knew. Island Southeast Asia wasn't just home to a couple of offshoots. It was a full-blown hub of hidden human diet. Their remains date back to about 67,000 years ago. And just like on Flores, we haven't found any younger bones. But we have found signs of Homo sapiens nearby, on islands like Borneo and Sulawesi, by 50,000 years ago, which means our ancestors almost certainly encountered Homo luzonensis, and again, they vanished soon after. They had survived for millennia. Then we arrived. Did we tolerate them? Compete? Push them out? Or did we do something darker? We may never know. Maybe some held out in remote caves for a few extra centuries. Maybe they faded into legend like the Ebugogo, or maybe we hunted them down. What we do know is this: there's so much more to uncover. Think about it. Homo naledi, we only know them from a single cave each, just one, and yet their populations must have numbered in the thousands, surviving across generations for hundreds of thousands of years. How many more are out there still waiting to be discovered? We already know of ghost humans, species we've never seen, only recognized through DNA found in people today, especially in West African populations. And let's not forget that Denisovans, a whole species we barely understand, yet their genes live on in billions of people around the globe. So here's the thing. I have zero doubt that in the coming decades we're going to find more, entirely new species, forgotten branches of our family tree. And that's absolutely thrilling, because the story of us is still being written. When we think of early humans, it's easy to picture one scrappy group standing alone against the raw power of nature. But that's not how it happened. Just like any other species, we evolved, adapted, and branched off across continents into many different human lineages, each one unique, each one real. They left their mark in different ways. Bones buried deep in caves, tools carved from stone, fragments of DNA still pulsing through our veins, and in some cases, just whispers in the myths of distant cultures. But make no mistake, they were humans, just like us. And every time you look in the mirror, you're seeing them too. You're carrying a legacy. We're just the lucky ones. The species that, maybe by chance, maybe by adaptation, spread out, took over and survived. But it could have gone a dozen different ways. If history had flipped just one page differently, we might not be here. Because this isn't just the story of Homo sapiens. It's the story of all the humans who came before us. The ones we met, the ones we mingled with, the ones we replaced, and the ones we never even realized existed. This has been an incredible journey through our ancient human family. And hey, if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Click on the video on your screen to keep enjoying our content. See you in the next video.